Hello, true art believers, and welcome to tonight's live art stream. I am the number one love streamer. No, I am the number one live art streamer in the world. Don't mind the slurring. I can't explain it. I'm just starting to slur my words right now. Just slurring them like my tongue's all tied. But anyways, I am the number one live art streamer in the world. And you are watching day 235 of 300 days of drawing. And today we're going to kind of talk about arms. We're going to work on some arms and kind of go through some arm drawing studies and some processes and give us my 2 cents on the matter. And hopefully I'll learn a little bit and I'll be able to explain it well enough that you understand what I'm talking about, or you're picking up what I'm laying down, if you know what I'm saying. All right, let's start. All right, welcome. Let me see here. Let me open up some files here. I got a bunch of little. There we go. I got these. Gonna open this one up. Where do I want to open it under? We'll open it under more apps. Paint, maybe. Well, we'll have to open this up as something else. Maybe. Okay. What about this one? Can we open this one up? Yeah, we can open this one up. The other one's a file that's like I have to select what I have to open it as. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to kind of we're going to start out by doing some simple little discussion on how to kind of begin how to draw some arms very simply, because I'm a person that likes to do simple things. So let's start out by pressing my time lapse button right here, and then what I would like to do is kind of. Let's see here. There we go. There we go. It's not doing the thing that I wanted to do. It's kind of like, hey, we're not going to do that thing that you want to do. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to start out by doing some warm-ups. Not even warm-ups. So I'm going to do some ellipses this time. So last time I was doing like circular forms, kind of actually really bad ones. Like, I was doing circular forms last time. I don't know if I've gotten any better. I'm actually kind of sloppy. But this time we're going to do some ellipses. And it's going to kind of pertain to what we're going to be doing today. And what we're going to be doing is going to make some tubes, right? We want to make some tubes, all right? The reason why you want to make tubes is they're going to be kind of like a reference or how you want to start thinking about arms, okay? So tubes are kind of like arms, obviously there's a little bit more to it than that, but it's good to kind of get used to that idea of thinking about arms as rounded cylinders. So we're going to practice off by doing a few cylinders here. We're just going to do these tall cylinders here. All right, let's start out here, and there's always going to be like a reason for why I'm doing this, right? And so now let's do a long cylinder here. Just kind of practice those long lines without making any errors, right? Let's do another cylinder like this. Okay, just kind of do something like this. And let's do one more just for fun. Just kind of get warmed up here. Again, nothing fancy. You want to start thinking. So when you're doing drawing or when you're doing the figure, what I notice is sometimes a lot of artists, or especially when you're beginning, when a lot of artists will start off in these very complex shapes and won't really dive into the reasoning for that. So now that we've done that, we've got some tube studies here, right? Let's do a few circles here, just for good measure, because that's going to be something I'm going to talk about a little bit later with regards to drawing arms, okay? And Yeah, you just want to be able to get accustomed to drawing circles and tubes and simple shapes. It's something that I don't do enough, and I'm hoping that this next 100 days is going to really up my ability to do these simple shapes. Because it's going to take me that long. Other people, I've stated this before, will have they can do like 2 pages worth of circles and they're like way better than I am. I have to do like 200 pages before I can become decent at it. All right, so now that we've done that, I want you to start. Let's think about like let's think about when you do an arm, you want to think about the arm. Let's do it one strategy or one thought process. Think about the arm like it's a mannequin or an action figure, and you have those ball joints, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a sphere that is going to represent, like, your shoulder joint, your deltoid, and part of your pectoralis muscle, and maybe we can get a little bit elaborate and say that's part of your bicep. And then we're going to draw a we're going to do the same thing. So like pretend that this was our tube from the last one, right? A long tube, right? Pretend that we did our tube. Okay. So now instead of doing the tube, you're going to cut out a section and you're going to replace it with a ball, right? You're going to replace that part of that tube with a ball. And then you're going to cut out a small section right here, right? And you're going to replace that with another ball. And what that's going to represent your elbow, right, where your brachial bone. I think it's the brachial bone. I think it's the brachial bone. Is it the brachial bone? I gotta go check that. Um, where you pivot here. So you're gonna do a cylinder that's going to go on top of your ball here, right? You're gonna do it a little. You're gonna cut that out, and then you're gonna add another ball on top right there. That's going to represent that, obviously, your elbow and so forth. And now what you want to do, think about, is you're going to add another cylinder here. Okay. And essentially what you've done is you've made like these pivoting points for your arm. Okay. So that's just a simple way of thinking about how arms are constructed. We can get more elaborate. We might get a little bit more elaborate. I don't know. It depends on how much time I have. So that's one way of thinking about arms. And another way to kind of think about arms is let's go to a different, let's segue into something else. Let's segue into a completely different area. Okay. So let's think about this. Excuse me. Let's let's pretend, let's just go ahead and think of an arm kind of like a curving, like a very, I guess, like it looks like a kind of like a knife shape almost, right? Or look like kind of like a half of a knife shape, right? So like you had a, let's pretend this is a knife, this is a handle or whatever. That's a very bad handle. So maybe it's like this. You have a knife like shape here, right? But only you cut out those sections and you add another curve, right? So you want to think of of an arm kind of like a knife like shape. That's like the arm there. You put like a deltoid here if you want to. So and so what we're doing, instead of doing it more of a rigid approach, you're going more of a curvy approach, which might be a little bit more easier for some of you, you know? So think about this, or another way of thinking about it is let's do a tube, a cylinder like what we did here, but only the cylinder is it's thicker up top and then it tapers down like that. And you make that into a cylinder first. So you make it into a cylinder. So like let's do something like this where you make this into a cylinder like that, and it's kind of like it's almost like you're doing you're like doing a horn. What is it? Those those things that people use when they or those in football games and like high school football games, people would have those little bull horns there, and that right, they'd have these little horns, and they'd call out, they'd say something out of it, right? So it's kind of like that, but only instead of it being just like that, it's curving like this. So let's do something like that, where we do a curving shape, right? And then you make it into more of a cylinder, right? And this looks more like a natural more of a natural arm, and this might be a better way of thinking about it for those that can't seem to draw a straight line, or this is actually probably better for like cartoon like arms if you want to approach it that way. All right, so these are just some ways to start thinking about drawing arms. Let's go to another way of thinking about drawing arms. All right, so this time what I'm going to do is we're going to do some we're going to do like a drawing of an arm here if I can. Apparently I can't. We're going to do like a drawing of an arm right here, and this is what I want to do. So let's see here. Let's say, so instead of doing these cylinder-like arms, you want to think about, let's do another approach. I'm going to draw a more realistic arm, right? To kind of explain another way of drawing arms that people might be more inclined to do. And this is really helpful for like comic artists. Again, kind of sort of helpful, maybe not so much. I'm not an expert at it. I just know the very basic fundamentals of this strategy. So let's say like you're drawing a natural arm. I'm looking at a reference right here. It's not on the it's off to the side. You can't see it. Gosh darn it. So it's off to the side. So you're doing more of a natural arm. Got to get this thing out of the way. There we go. Nope, can't do it. There we go. Every time I click on another window, my stylist decides, hey, you can't do this. So you have more of a natural arm here. It's actually a lot skinnier. So it's a skinnier arm. Well, actually, it's just an average arm. So like I say it's a lot skinnier because if you're used to drawing these muscle bound superheroes, any arm that isn't like that is gonna look just not good, or it's not gonna be. The deltoid here needs to go farther down. There we go, something like this. So something like this. Get this hand here. Actually, it doesn't even look like that. The hand has a knuckle like that. And then you got this arm like this. All right. So let's just say this is kind of done. I'm not really doing a good job at adding details like that. Maybe a little bit. There's that brachialis muscle, and then there's this arm right here. All right. So another way that people can think about structuring their arm. I'm trying to move. There we go. About structuring their arm is some people or some artists will like use like oval forms as like reference points for muscles, and for some that makes a lot of sense, because then they become like a reference point to where muscles are at on the figure, so some people will like, let's say they'll do something like this. So let's say they start out by let's say they draw that curvy arm that I did earlier, or that curvy looking shape that I did earlier, right? And what they want to add like a deltoid muscle. So they'll start by adding like a circular form to express like the deltoid, and then they'll add like a circular form to kind of express the definition of the bicep, right? And then they'll add like a kind of like almost a circular form, kind of like a half oval form to kind of express the tricep, because the tricep really isn't a circular form. Or we're talking about like ovalish circular forms here. And some people really this really just makes sense for them to kind of do these kind of structures uh, on their figure. For others, they find it very confusing, right? It's a little bit um, too much, right? It doesn't make sense to them. But to some, it might be a possible solution to drawing arms. There's not a right way or wrong way to approaching arms. There's just kind of different ways of thinking about it. And this could be one way of approaching arms, right? You can go about it as kind of like doing ovally forms to kind of express these muscles, right? And yeah, you can do something like that. Some people would like to do that. Yeah, like these triceps and stuff. This is kind of like a hyper exaggerated muscle here. I need to use a reference point, but we're not going to do that. I always get these extensor muscles confused because I don't know. I'm not as well versed in the wrist muscles. So whenever I draw them, there's probably some a little bit of a disconnect. So that's just one way of thinking about that's another way of thinking about how to draw muscles, right? Is using ovally forms. You can use cylinders and so forth. So let's kind of do a little bit more to this like made up bicep arm area, just for fun, right? I want to play around with this one. It's a decent drawing or a decent start, so I might as well just kind of play around with it and at least give it some definition. Why not? Deltoids, really kind of I'm really I know like I understand deltoids. They have like three heads to it, I believe. I believe they have three heads. But it's always so confusing for me, like where they kind of insert on the shoulder area. So I don't know enough to kind of give explanations on that. Um, Again, also whenever when my reference points are from other like comic artists, we're assuming that comic artists know anatomy to like perfectly, and some of them don't know as much anatomy, and they're just kind of winging it, and they're hyper exaggerating things. So I could be using like flawed anatomy from another artist, and that's fine too, because a lot of them generally have a good stronghold or a good grasp of the figure. At least I think a lot of them do, right? So here you go. You got your bicep, the bicep, and you got the tricep, and this the deltoid. I believe they call the deltoid. It's after like I think it's after the Greek letter or Roman numeral or whatever it is for delta, for the shape, because the delta is supposed to be like a triangular shape. I believe. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I remembered as. That could be wrong. And you got your brachial muscles, or like this is the brachialis, I think. I could be wrong. All right, I think that's yeah. The brachialis kind of goes on top of the bicep, like sweeps up here. Probably not this high, but I'm just exaggerating. But that's just for reference point there. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and we're gonna do another arm here. We're gonna do this arm that I started earlier, and we're just gonna draw using a blue pencil. Yeah, blue pen. There we go. Oopsie daisy. I moved the arm. There we go. Using the blue pen. Pencil. Blue color. blue colored pencil. There we go. And you can't see it, but what I'm going to do for another way of explaining the how to draw arms is think about arms. Look at the angles that arms are making. You know, and what kind of helps is to kind of just do like a rough angle test. So I'm going to do just kind of a rough angle, some angle like this, maybe a slight angle like this, and I'm going to try to apply that cylinder method right here, at least for this purpose, where I just do 2 cylinders, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to make it more in line to what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm going to do the cylinder method, and then what I'm going to do for the deltoid specifically is I'm going to do some of the circular method, right, where I add like kind of ovalish forms, right, to kind of get a grasp of shape, and then maybe a little bit on the tricep as well, um, because those are the most prominent, and I'm seeing those the most. So that is how you can combine some of these techniques together. Now I know that the arm is actually much thinner than this, so we're going to trim it down. We're going to trim it down a little bit. And then we're going to just kind of connect this area. Instead of having a ball, right, we're just going to connect it with like a bent filament, a little bent. Like you can also imagine maybe that elbow area as if it's like a spring, or yeah, let's imagine it's a spring, right? And it compresses and expands within the curve of the form. So it expands as it's curving around like this, right? So we're going to kind of mess around with this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to make the opacity a little bit thinner, lighter, and we're going to define those forms a little bit more. And then we're going to go on top of it with a black pencil or black. Maybe we'll try pencil. We'll try the pencil brush. I like using the pencil brush whenever I have the time to kind of play around with it. Something like this. Now, some artists, at which you've seen, they're able to kind of like they're just so impressive. I just can't fathom like the ability that they have. Like these, I've seen artists that can just like create whole scenes, no underdrawing, no planning. They just kind of do it, and they're like, "You can do it too." I'm like, oh, come on, guys! Like, how are you doing this? Oh, I've been drawing and drawing forever. Like, what about the guy that's drawing just as much as you, or the girl that's drawing just as much as you, and they still can't do it? Well, they need to draw more. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's just admit for a second that you have an ability that some people just can't, no matter how hard they're trying, they just can't get, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but the thing about doing that type of stuff is like maybe you're kind of limiting yourself. I don't know. So I'm just gonna kind of play around here. I mean, quite honestly, I'm actually his forearm is actually quite much longer than I'm giving him credit in this drawing. But the thing is, when you're doing that, the point is when I say something like that is to recognize it, that you've made that error and just keep going with the drawing. Right? It's okay that you made a mistake. Right? It's okay that that's happened. Now, the thing about that is you don't want to if you made a mistake, fine, but don't let it kind of ruin the rest of your drawing, right? So in this instance, I've made a mistake and I'm just going to keep on drawing because I want to finish the drawing or get a little bit closer to complete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this it's kind of like a it's kind of like a pencil. So we're gonna do is we're gonna use this area and we're gonna add some tones here, some quick little tones. or not quick. We're gonna add some slow tones here and then work on the lines. I'm not really good with this brush here, this like pencil brush. This takes me a while. Yeah, just a slow, just adding stroke after stroke and so forth. Just take your time when you're doing these drawings. Now, I'm going to add his tricep muscle right here. Kind of does some tricep muscly stuff over here. Add. Whoops. Thought I was being extra sensitive. Anyway, so now let's go back and kind of shrink down the brush a little bit. And we're going to add the more of the lines here. So I'm kind of done explaining. I'm just going to kind of play around with this arm here using a pencil brush, and then hopefully I'll be able to create a more of a complete arm drawing, and we'll see if it it kind of looks decent. So there's some little muscles here that I'm not kind of tighten this up a little bit, something like this, and we're going to exaggerate this tricep muscle, make it blockier than it really is. And make a blockier tricep muscle right here. And then we're going to make add the arm muscle here, or deltoid. There's some detail here that I'm leaving out or not really expressing too well. And the thing about me is I'm actually really slow artist. I I have to fiddle around with it and then kind of get in the groove. And so I'm not going to get much farther than this in this drawing. It's going to take me a little bit of time, a little bit more time than I'm willing to work on it. So we're going to kind of fiddle around with it for another minute or so and then call it a day, right? I'm going to call it a day. And then just, chillax for the rest of the evening, right? And we got this brachial muscle right here. And then there's this deep shadow on this arm here. Kind of like that. And then this whole area is kind of, it's a lot of tone. Just going really quick here because I don't have a lot of time. As you know, for those that watch these live streams, you know from the past what I typically try to do, keep a very tight timeline, and try to get whatever I'm working on done in 30 minutes. But since these are just sketches and this is just like a small little it's kind of like a tutorial slash practice. It's a way to me kind of just to kind of practice my drawing and to improve, right? So here we go. We got our arm here. Let's see here. Let's take this and we'll press Shift, and then we'll press T. We'll shrink this down, put this somewhere over here, and then we'll take this, whatever this is, and this, and this. Nope. And we'll press T. We'll shrink it down, and then we'll take this, whatever this is, and this. Oh, we'll take this, press T, shrink that down. You know, and then we'll take this, and then we'll shrink it down. Nope, wrong layer. Right? Shrink it down a little bit more, put it right here. And so that's just a way to kind of start thinking about your drawing, right? You think about your arms as cylinders and oval and circles and ovals, and then maybe think about turning it into curve forms, and maybe think about you know drawing them as simple abstract oval forms in itself. Who knows? There's various ways to kind of go about it, but this is just one way, and there's no right or wrong ways. There's multiple ways, and this is just kind of some strategies I'm thinking about right now, and we'll see. We'll see what goes with in the future for these drawings, but we're gonna see what happens. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is gonna go down right here and type in. We're gonna go P 21, and this is day 235. So I don't know what's happening with these live streams. I just thought this would be kind of a way for me to kind of improve and to kind of talk about art differently, right? So this is just how to draw. Like these are like just simple little tutorials that you can think about. You know, as again, I'm not a professional. I'm not an amateur, but I'm not an expert. I'm kind of in between. I know enough of each to kind of provide insight and perspective, but I'm not like on the like the top 5%. I'm probably a top 20%. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's live art stream, and I hope you learned a little bit about how to kind of go about structuring your arms and how to think about the process of creating arms and figure drawing and anatomy. Anyways, I must get going for today. I hope you enjoyed in today's live art stream. This is Pierson. I am the #1 live art stream in the world. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really means a lot to me and it helps support me. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers.